Hi, my name is Cormac. Welcome to my presentation on the Phase 2 Systems Analysis and Testing assignment. The product I'm doing is Pizza Command System, a online ordering system for a pizza restaurant like the Pizza Hut website or the Domino's Pizza website, that kind of thing. So without further ado, let's get into it. The non-functional requirements. Okay, so most of the ones I did were product requirements, because we got to be competitive with our competitors like Pizza Hut. Their websites, they're already very good, very professional. So yeah, we're going to look at using the W3 standards for UI accessibility for our usability requirements. Main thing is it includes lots of people, different people, visual impairments, all that into using the site, but it also usually improves the experience of a website for the general customer. Test plans are, the guidelines are given on on W3. They have some testing guidelines there. Response time. So yeah, usual heuristic rule of 3 seconds for a UI. We don't want anything lasting more than that, longer than that. That has to be tested and has to be shown to be consistent across all devices, tablets, PCs, all that. Reliability requirements. So system availability, I figured that the website needs to be up quite a bit, so 99%, but excuse me, still got the flu. During core business hours, this should be up to 99.9%, evenings and weekends. So also thought that beta period for a limited release in a certain area might be good for testing this before rollout across a wider area. Beta testing, yeah. So portability requirements has to be compatible. The website has to be compatible across all major devices and all major browsers. Goes without saying. This can be tested, during the beta phase, and it should be done all along through while it's being a lot of configuration testing as well at the end, but also should be usability testing as the thing is being developed. Last one is external requirements. Last one looked at was external requirements, the privacy requirement, in particular the need to adhere to the Data Protection Amendment Act 2003, very important in Ireland. If you're storing people's data like we would be, the credit card details, address, phone number has to be kept in a responsible and law-abiding fashion. So then left some priorities. Privacy requirements definitely up the top. We have our legal responsibility first, and then responsibility to the customers. So that's then the system availability and response time are important for the website to make money, for the company to make money. The same with the others. Okay, so let's look at the functionality I looked at. So I just said there were first of all, there were a few constraints. There's no budget, very little time. So this isn't going to be comprehensive, but it should give an idea of how to design and implement these functions. So the functions limitations we looked at, and the functions coming from that were, first one was pre-ordering. A lot of websites didn't have an online pre-ordering thing. Say there was a football match on, you knew you were never going to get your order done online. You'd have to call up the particular restaurant to make sure they made, say, your large order on time. We decided in phase 1 we decided let's put that on the website. Let's make it an automated thing. Okay, save a bit of labor and a bit of phone time, huh? So the other functionality we looked at was limitation. We looked at postal delivery address. A lot of websites competitor websites used postal addresses to confirm where someone was. Just kind of trying to limit, just for a bit of data validation, and maybe also to stop prank calls and stuff like that. Excuse me. So we decided let's get over that. Let's look at GPS. So we came up with a new requirement of being able to attach GPS coordinates to an order, so it can be delivered to a beach, a park. Maybe you can't find your website. Sorry about that, got a phone call. So what we're looking at, the GPS. So yeah, customer would basically have the ability on their mobile device to attach their GPS location to an order, and then the restaurant wouldn't have that GPS location, be able to deliver to it. As we move on, so let's look at how the model was changed. Not much was changed overall. Sign out, we changed a couple of things around here to make things a bit easier for the customer to use in regards to signing in, signing out. Changed added a pre-order use case. It's a very simple use case actually. It's kind of in isolation. Just slots in before the create your own pizza use case. And then so the change delivery address was another one that we were going to look at, but I decided to look at the use GPS coordinates as an extension of that. And that comes from the checkout. So when you're checking out, you're going to either add a new address or you're going to use GPS coordinates. That led to some use case narratives. One amended. This is the checkout, so you're paying online. Main thing to know is from this, you're basically doing a typical checkout kind of thing. The thing where the new functionality comes in is at alternative flows C and D. So when the customer is adding their payment and delivery methods, and the customer chooses a delivery address, the customer may enter a new address manually, or on alternative flow D, the customer may enter a new delivery address based on the GPS coordinates. Either way, the customer is going to get their order delivered to where they want it. So the pre-order use case is very simple. It basically slots in before create your own pizza, so that's the end, the post condition. Customer selects the pre-order case, customer is prompted to choose date and time of delivery, customer then will confirm it and then go forward with their order, with creating their order. So then let's say the activity diagram's fair. It's too simple to worth even talking about. It's the same as it comes from the use case. This is where a bit more complicated when I redid the checkout use case. So as before, in the previous, in phase 1, validation is done at the start. So you choose a method of payment, or you choose your payment method, and you choose the delivery location and addresses and all that on the same page, and then it's all validated by the system. Okay, so that's all the payment stuff. Let's go over to delivery stuff where GPS thing is located. So GPS, do we select delivery or collection? If it's collection, you input name and then it gets delivered. This section is basically all about the real world side of things, like the restaurant getting the food to the customer. All this here is the technical stuff, the website side of things. So for delivery or collection, so if it's delivery, then do you want to choose the default address which is attached to the account? If you do, you choose the default address, it gets delivered. If not, you want to choose a new address. Do you want it to be the manual input or GPS? If it's manual input, you manually input it. If it's GPS, you GPS input, and then it merges. They all merge, and it comes back to getting delivered. Okay, so from those activity diagrams, the test cases were changed. Pre-order use case, it's very straightforward. The first one has the logic, where the logic and the formatting are correct from what the customer entered, and it works. The second one is the error catching if the customer enters a logically inconsistent time, such as like a time that's 5 years ago or something. It checks the logic, asks the customer again, customer answers again, and then the customer confirms as before. Okay, so here's the more interesting ones related to the checkout functionality. Customer successfully completes an order using GPS functionality from their phone or mobile device. Customer selects checkout. They are prompted to add all the details, the payment details, the delivery or collection details, and where they want it to be delivered. Okay, customer enters all those details. It works okay. It's a GPS location they selected, so it asks the customer for GPS location from the mobile device. System place checks it, says it's okay, prompts the user to confirm the order, user confirms the order, and off we go. The other one, manual input, is basically the same, but it's here, but this time it checks an error and asks the customer to do everything again. So that was basically me trying to get these use cases here working with the checkout use case as before. So let's go back and we're going to have a look at our class diagram first. The class diagram was kind of initially done on first brush, then I did this to get an idea what's going on, then I did the sequence diagram. Sequence diagrams highlighted a lot of necessary functionality, and then a lot of functionality ended up in the order use case. As you can see, the order is a class that has all the functionality of checking out. So it's kind of this super mega class with loads of stuff, aggregating and composing it. So a couple of things to note: I kept GPS location as a class because future functionality might be added to it. It could be more useful in other parts of the business. So I assume that would be used somewhere else. So it's an aggregate. Also, order doesn't need a GPS location to exist. The thing is, order does need a customer to exist. You can't have an order without a customer, logically speaking. Customer has an address, but address can also potentially be part of the order if the order is using a new manually inputted address in that new use case. Pizza, sides and meals are all food items. They all make up the order. The order is an aggregate of one or all of these. They don't need one of them to exist. It doesn't need all of them to exist. It only needs one of them to exist. Also, it's kind of shared because the meal deals have sides and pizzas in them. Also, another composition class: a pizza has to have a base and toppings, or it's not really a pizza. It's just a bit of bread or some toppings, and then that's aggregated in the order class. As I said before, a lot of functionality is stuck in the order class. So all the data validation, a lot of stuff from the sequence diagram, which you'll see here. So the checkout sequence diagram here it is. So yeah, basically customer checks out, all the functionality from the GPS and the payment details and all that are caught up in this method, the choose pay, the live pay method. Then that kind of controller validates, you validate the data, you confirm the sale, you tell the customer through this interface to confirm error messages, and then you notify the kitchen and update the order database. So that's a good happy path. Unhappy path is checkout, same as before, but as invalid data, you send the customer back to displaying the checkout again. So yeah, that choose delivery delive pay method is takes in a lot of the information. It takes a lot of functionality within the new functionality. The pre-order use case, very simple: bit of data validation, then a confirmation message, and then you create the pizza. Then you go into the create pizza use case. Very straightforward. Okay, and that's overview of my model and the classes and all that. And the testing, so hope that all made sense. Here we go into reflections. Okay, so as was required, we used the plus minuses interesting model for analysing and reflecting on the project. So a lot of the reflections come from the contrast between phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 was a group effort, phase 2 was a solo effort. There were definite advantages and disadvantages to both of those. Okay, so phase 1 of the project, I would say it was iterative, collaborative, and ad hocratic. If you don't know what an adhocracy is, it's basically the opposite of a bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is a hierarchical structure with kind of rigid chains of command and stuff, like an army might be or a corporation might be. An adhocracy kind of often suits smaller groups. It means you don't have formal leadership. You might have informal work groups working on different aspects. The informal work group might be a person or the entire team or two people. It's very fluid. It allows kind of fluidity of work and delegation without needing a manager to tell everybody what to do. Pluses of that, this combination of iterative, collaborative and adhocratic meant we could bang out a lot of work very quickly, and usually without friction between the team members. One problem with that was we kind of had to talk a lot to get everyone on board and get everyone to know what was going on. Plus side of that was that everyone knew what was going on, everyone knew what everyone else was doing. It was easier to discuss and reflect and iterate on the product, on the project, the report. We also had good working knowledge of all the different aspects of the report, each person in it, and a kind of advantage of doing the adhocratic method. In regards to phase 2, the I found the most useful aspect was that I was able to remove inconsistencies a bit more easily from the report and from diagrams and stuff like that. There were some inconsistencies in the phase 1 that we never really addressed because it was kind of messy. Because of the adhocracy and the iteration, it became kind of difficult. Any change led to lots of changes later, so we didn't quite get all the consistency down. You can keep one person more consistent, and you can keep 5 people consistent in regards to work practices. Minuses, trying to keep things logically consistent. We realised that processes should have been put in at the start, and they weren't. For example, how the diagrams should look. We all had different looking diagrams. It kind of looks unprofessional. Some of the ways we did things were inconsistent. It was harder to get people all working together in the same way. Sometimes the meetings went on too long as well because we needed to get everybody on board with all the ideas. Moving on to phase 2. It's definitely a less engaging work experience. It's less interesting. People are social animals. I'm a social animal. We like working with. Generally, people like working with other people to get stuff done. It was a more interesting and engaging process than just writing a report yourself. Feedback I also found was harder to get in phase 2. Because you had to specifically ask for it. In phase 1, because of the iteration, we were constantly reviewing and looking at all the parts of the project and finding problems and solving things as we went. It was harder to get that for phase 2. While it was interesting, I worked in an adhocratic organisation before, and it was interesting to see how it played out here again. And basically the same things I found were that you need systems. You need processes, even more so than a bureaucracy. In bureaucracy, you can rely on the chain of commands to kind of sort things out and all that. In bureaucracy, either the process is right and someone has worked on the process to get it right, or it's not going to work very well. There's no fallback, there's no way to go up the chain of command to sort things out. Personally, I found it a better approach to work. Downside is, if we're doing in the future, there would be definitely more preliminary work and standardising work practices than, say, you might do in a bureaucratic method. But let's say in regards to project and the design was most interesting. How do you, when you come up with a new functionality and you're going to implement and design it, it's very hard to tell ahead of time how difficult that new functionality is going to be to implement. I only found out during the design phase that the pre-order was really simple, the pre-order use case. But then to check the because the checkout use case was complicated and GPS functionality was attached to that, that got really complex. Well, it's not really, relatively complex. And I'm wondering, in a larger system with, you know, hundreds of people working on it, how do you know something is going to, when someone comes up with an idea, let's do this, is that the purpose of this kind of document, to figure out, oh wait, if we did that, it would be cost too much to do, or would be too difficult, or we don't have the skills to do it, or something. Is that the whole point of this? Because that's what I found. The two use cases I designed for this were just totally different in complexity. And at the end, I just had a few questions on that, in that vein. Was it, for example, was that complexity due to bad design? Maybe we had analysed and designed the system better, we could have overcome that kind of cascading complexity, or whatever you want to call it. And that's it for my report. Thank you very much, and see you around.